I'm meteorologist Mike Joyce, working on a special project recapping the devastating tornado outbreak on Memorial Day Monday evening back on May 27th. At first, I want to break down our Doppler radar echoes that we were getting from this massive supercell. This is 10:48 on Memorial Day night. Right here is Brookville. You're seeing heavy rain and hail on this part of the supercell, but this separate area of red that looks like rain is the debris ball from this EF3, eventually EF4 tornado. We're following the debris ball right now on the north side of Trotwood. Then as we move through the next 20 frames or so at 11:04 p.m. That's when it impacted Harrison Township. And then the storm took a right turn and dove south. This is just narrowly missing a Dayton Children's Hospital in Old North Dayton. At this point, around 11:15, the storm cycled. So it lifted off the ground near Riverside briefly and then dropped another debris ball right there quickly. EF3 damage in Beaver Creek before moving toward US 68 and dissipating, and then dropping two more tornadoes. And we'll talk about those two tornadoes in just a second, but that first tornado, the most intense, the EF4, had a 19-mile path starting in Brookville right here, stretching through Harrison Township and Trotwood, through Old North Dayton, and then dissipating initially near Riverside. But I want to show you where the worst damage was. This is along the Stillwater River and Riverside Drive in Harrison Township, ending right at North Dixie. So that is where the EF4 damage is. 170-mile-per-hour wind, and the tornado was 3/4 of a mile wide at this point. But let's move over into Greene County, where that same storm produced the Beaver Creek EF3. This dropped again near Riverside, crossed the county line, crossed 675, and then moved just south of the Fairfield Commons Mall. It was still nearly 3/4 of a mile wide, and this tornado had a 10-mile path, eventually dissipating north of Xenia at US 68. The wind speeds here about 140 miles per hour. But I mentioned that this storm was not done producing tornadoes yet. It produced two more consecutively in southern Greene County. This one on top was an EF1 tornado with 105-mile-per-hour wind. It wasn't as wide, 250 yards, but that's still significant in rural communities. It had a path of 5.4 miles. And then the second tornado, even stronger, EF2, this one was also 250 yards wide. It had 120-mile-per-hour wind, and it made a 4.2-mile path. This supercell continued to produce tornadoes south of Columbus in Pickaway and Hocking counties before finally dissipating in southeast Ohio. But then another tornado later that evening, a supercell behind this one, produced the tornado through Vandalia and Butler Township. This was a 1/4 mile wide, had a 7.6-mile path to the southeast, and a maximum wind speed at 135 miles per hour with that damage corridor right along the I-75 interchange just north of Needmore Road. And then another tornado behind that. This tornado started in Miami County at State Route 721, crossed the Montgomery County line northeast of Phillipsburg. This one was an EF0, 80-mile-per-hour wind. It had a 50-yard path, and it was on the ground for 3 miles. Then another major tornado, EF3. This one was 3/4 of a mile wide. It had a 10.8-mile path and maximum wind speed of 140 miles per hour. Some of the heavy damage from this was South Range Line Road on the northwest side of West Milton, and then Kessler Road on the northeast side of West Milton. But that storm also produced another EF0 tornado, 200 yards wide south of Troy. The Troy Country Club impacted by this, 5.7 miles in length, and it had a maximum wind speed of 70 miles per hour. And now we're going to take a trip up to Mercer County, Salina, where we had another EF3 tornado. This one was not very wide by strong tornado standards, 200 yards wide. It had maximum wind speed of 150 miles per hour, and the path length was 6.6 miles before the tornado ended on the north side of Salina, right at the US 127 interchange. So to put it all in perspective, we had 15 tornadoes total. These tornadoes traveled 80.6 miles. When you add up all the path lengths together, that's how many miles traveled by all of these tornadoes. But then when you add the damage area from the tornadoes at their widest point and combining that, multiplying it by how long their path was, the damage area, 258.6 square miles. Absolutely incredible. All of that in the Miami Valley. And that EF4 tornado in Montgomery County was the strongest since 1974's Xenia tornado.